So let's do a little bit of validation testing. Right now, we really don't have any validation on our name, but let's write an expectation. We could describe uh, product validation, and some interesting things that'll happen here. Let's just say that name is required, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to actually create some data. Or I'm going to attempt to. And the way that I'm going to do this, one thing that you could end up doing is that you could end up returning a promise here. And what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to end up returning, and I'm going to say product.create. And I'm going to attempt to create it by putting nothing in here. Now, one thing that's going to happen here is that I haven't actually exported product. So this actually is alerting me to something that I probably want to do, which is to also end up exporting my models. And this is going to be product and category. And we will now bring them in here by bringing in product, and we ended up putting them on models here. And this is going to be db.models, models. And we don't see anything here, right? Now we want this to be an error. So one thing we could do here is we could go over here and we can end up writing in our spec, I really want this to be an exception. So I'm going to go over here and put in a catch. And what is that exception going to look like? Well, we can take a look at it a little bit, but if you look at the way that SQLize validation works, you'll end up getting an exception with some errors and a path name. This is not perfect, but I'm going to write an expectation here. And my expectation here is going to be that I'm going to end up getting this error, and this error is going to have an errors property. I think this is correct. We could always do a console.log, but an errors property, because you could have a collection of errors, and the path tells you which field the error is on. So I'm going to say that I expect the path to equal name. Name is going to be what field this is on. Now, if I ran this, right, I wouldn't see anything. And that's true, because I'm not throwing an exception here. But what I'm also going to do here, just to make sure that this gets run, what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to say, hey, look, if you make it here, we have a real problem. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw. And I just like to do this, meaning if I get in here, I've got a real problem. And let's just fix this real quick. Yeah, it doesn't like that. So what we'll do here is we'll end up throwing a new error with this message. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm running into a problem with this. So let's actually put this in here. Let's see if this works. Right? So I run into this problem because, in fact, there's no property, there's no error here, because I don't have my validation working. So let me go and put in my validation, and I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to specify that this is going to be the type, and I'm going to say allow null to equal false. And now that actually ends up passing. And just to sort of see it fail, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say I expect the path to be ID, right? And it's going to tell me, no, the error was on name. It wasn't on ID. So we'll end up getting that error. We could also do another validation here. We could say, not only is it required, can't be an empty string. We might get a little bit of a different issue here, but I'm going to go over here and put in name. And again, I'm going to run into that same issue here, where if I look at this, it's going to tell me, hey, look, this actually passed, right? This was actually able to generate an error here. And I'm going to go over here, and how can we end up doing this validation? Well, something we could do here, and you could look up on the SQLize documents, we could end up validating. And we're going to say that not empty is going to be true. There's all kinds of things you could end up validating here. You could end up doing not empty. You could end up doing email, that sort of thing. It's not something that Postgres is doing, but it's going to be something that SQLize has the ability to do. So we might have to come back here and fine tune these a little bit, but this is just one way that you can end up testing out your validation.